Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video today, I'm going to be showing you how to use MSI Afterburner plus RIVATUNER to get your in-game overlay. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. So the first thing you want to do is come over to a web browser and search for MSI Afterburner. Just make sure it's MSI's website themselves, as they do mention that there are fake Afterburner sites. So for this video, I will be using the beta version of MSI Afterburner, and the only reason for this is that I have a 50 series GPU, and I've noticed that when I use the older final version and I change my GPU from my integrated graphics to my 5080, the software just crashes and it doesn't seem like I can fix it. So if you're on an older card than a 50 series, if you're on a 40 series for example, then the final version should be fine, but for this video we're using the beta version. So once MSI Afterburner is installed, you want to unzip the file by going to extract all here, and then you want to open the Afterburner installer, and we will be unchecking the Norton 360 for gamer as you do not need this. So then you want to hit yes for do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device, and then we want to select our language. For me it'd be English. We're going to hit next, accept the terms, next. And on this screen you want to make sure RIVATUNER statistics server is checked with a green check mark. We're going to hit next, next again, and we're going to install. So now the same with RIVATUNER, we're going to hit OK, and we're going to click next on here. We're going to accept the terms again, and we're going to select where we're saving the program to, hit next, and then it's going to install. So from here we're going to uncheck the show readme box, and the same for MSI Afterburner, but we are going to run MSI Afterburner. So straight away, if you're on the final version, this will look different, but it's all laid out fairly similar. The main thing we're looking for here is the settings cog here. Now if you have integrated graphics like I do, even though I've disabled it in device manager, you just want to make sure your GPU is actually selected. So over here on settings, what we're going to do first is head to the monitoring tab, and here you see a lot of sensors for what can be monitored. And it may seem overwhelming, but the main things we're going to focus on here is GPU temp, GPU usage and GPU clock, as well as CPU temp, CPU usage and CPU clock speed. As well, we will be enabling the frame rate, the frame time, the frame rate average FPS and the 1% lows. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hop into a game, so that way we can see the overlay actually working and we can get an idea of exactly how we want to set it up. Alright, so now that we're in game, we want to make sure our Afterburner is open. If you don't see it down here, it could be down on the right side. And we're going to go over to settings and back over to the monitoring tab. So straight away, I've said already that we want to monitor the temperature for the GPU and the usage. So what we want to do is make sure this box is checked, so it's going to have a black kind of outline on the check mark. And then we're going to click on show in on screen display and click apply. Now you might notice nothing's actually coming up, and what you need to do is go over to the right hand side again, and if RIVATUNER is not open, you need to open it yourself. So once RIVATUNER is open, if we give it a second, it should pop up with our GPU temp, and it is really small on the screen. So the first thing I will show you is if we open RIVATUNER, you can make this bigger by just clicking on screen display zoom. And just so we can get an idea of what things look like, we'll make it quite big for now. So now if we head back to Afterburner, what we want to do is go ahead and add everything that we want. So the GPU usage we're going to add, we're going to click on show in on screen display, and we're going to apply, and we do the same exact thing for everything that we want to add. So the same with the core clock, I want to add this. And now we've got all three of them there, and that's pretty much all I want for my GPU. So what we're going to do is scroll down, and you will see CPU temperature, but you will see that there's 1, 2, 3 all the way down to however many cores you have. But what you want to click on is CPU temperature with no number next to it. Click on show in on screen display, make sure it's checked here, and it will say in OSD, which means in on screen display. Click apply, and straight away our CPU temperature is on the left hand side as well. We're going to do the same with usage as well. We're going to click on the one that hasn't got a number, show in on screen display, and hit apply again. And then once again with clock speed, we want that enabled on our overlay, so we're going to apply that, and now we've got the GPU temp, usage and clock speed, and the same with the CPU. Now if we scroll down to the bottom, we do want the frame rate, so we're going to check that box, and we need to click on this as well. And then we also want the frame time, and we're going to make sure that box is checked. And now for frame rate average, we're going to do the exact same thing, and the same with the 1% lows. Now what you might realize is, even though you've checked these boxes and it says in OSD for average and 1% lows, it's not appearing, and that's because there is one setting you need to change in RIVATUNER. So if you go to the RIVATUNER and go to setup and scroll down on general, you will see enable benchmark mode. If we hit apply, we can now see that it's all appeared here, but it does look a bit messy, so we're going to fix that now. So what I tend to like to do is actually override the group name. This will change these from the GPU to CPU to whatever you want. So because I know I've got an RTX 5080, we're going to put RTX 5080, and we're going to copy that and hit apply. So now the temperature is next to the RTX 5080. We're going to do the same with the usage. We're going to check the box for override group name, and we're going to do the same for everything that we want to change. So now all the monitoring for the graphics card is next to the title of RTX 5080, and we can also do the same for our CPU. So we scroll down to CPU temperature, override group name, 9800X3D. Obviously you can keep this as CPU if you want, or you can put in whatever your CPU is. And I won't obviously explain exactly how to do it on all of them because I've done it with everyone so far. And then the same with CPU clock. So now all of our statistics are in line with the actual graphics card and the CPU, and it looks a lot better, if you ask me, to have what your actual components are and what your specs are. So we're going to also scroll down to frame rate, and what we're actually going to do is we're going to put FPS for the override group name. And with the frame time, you tend to have this next to the FPS anyway, so if you put FPS, it will appear on the right hand side of the FPS counter, but you need to obviously, like I said, make sure this box is checked, which I didn't have it checked. Now you can see our FPS and our frame time are in line with the FPS writing. And then for frame rate average, we're going to change this to AVG for average FPS. And then for 1% lows, it's up to you what you put in here. I normally just put 1% lows. So now it's already looking a lot better. We've got everything labeled out quite nicely. People can clearly see that this is our graphics card, specs, temp, usage, clock. Same with our CPU. They can see our FPS, our average FPS, and our 1% lows. Now one thing to mention as well quickly is, if for whatever reason when you're looking on the monitoring tab you can't see your GPU or CPU, it was the exact same when I had my 9800X3D. What you actually need to do is come over to where it says active hardware monitoring graphs. But what you can do is install hardware info. I will leave a link to that. That's pretty much a program that does very similar to what this does, monitors all your hardware, but rather than it being an overlay, it's an application. And what I've found is, if I check the box for hardware info, it will say you need to make sure certain things are checked in the settings for hardware info. But if you haven't got everything on the screen that you need, install hardware info and check this box, and hardware info will monitor everything that is needed for the overlay. So now that we've got the overlay pretty much set up, the first thing we might want to do is change the font, and I'll show you how to do that now. So if we come over to the RIVATUNER tab, and what you want to do is click on the raster 3D. So there is a bunch of fonts inside of here, and you can choose from yourself. One that I think is quite nice is RIVATUNER, or whatever you call it. And if we put it on bold, so I like to just go with any font that's quite clean. But what you can actually do is you can install your own font. If we type in a font, we go to the website and download it. If we extract this font and then click install, we've already got it installed, but if we install it here and then go back over to raster 3D, and if we type in B, we would see Burbank Big. And as you can see, the font we downloaded is now inside of the RIVATUNER program. But like I said, it's up to you what one you go for. There's a bunch of them in here, or you can choose a font that is your favorite. But straight away, we're able to now have a font that we want and that we think looks clean on our overlay. Now another thing to mention, obviously like I said earlier, you can adjust how large the overlay is. And one other thing you can do is click on screen display fill, and what this is going to do is put a slightly transparent background to it, so when you're in your game, if the background is really bright, it may make it really hard to see the actual overlay. So by putting the fill on, it will make sure that the overlay looks clean and it can be seen very well. Now for the next thing I'm going to show you is how to change the actual color of these fonts. So if we click on these three dots here, so it's next to the showing on screen display, we click here, it will show our colors all the way from 0 to 4. As we can see, this green here matches with the RTX 5080, so I could click on this and I could select any color I want. Let's say we go with this light blue. So now that's changed the RTX 5080 font color, and let's say we want to do the same with the 9800 X3D and we want to keep it the same. I can have both of them kind of a lightish blue. And as you can see, this is the color for the FPS, average FPS and 1% lows. We could have this any color we want. Let's say you want it to be quite vibrant, you could have this green. And then let's say you just want to keep all these metrics on the right hand side to white. You can click here and drag it to white. And straight away, now the overlay looks a lot cleaner. It's got some sort of organization to the colors. And you can adjust this according to how you want. It's personal preference how it looks. And now also one other thing I will show you in here is if you click on these bits here, you can actually move the overlay to the right, or you can move it up and down as well. So what we will do is I will show you how to move it to the center. You can actually, you don't have to keep clicking on these, you can type in a number. Let's say we put 200, we can see it's moved it over slightly, but let's say we want to center it, we want to just find a number that corresponds with it being centered in the screen. So I think around there is pretty close. If we put that to 650, now the overlay is above us instead, and this could be handy if you're doing like a comparison video. That way you can have them side by side and the overlays are going to be above and it's going to look really clean. But this part is preference as well. You can have it wherever you want on your screen. It's basically whatever place you want it, where it's not affecting your gameplay or in a way. Now you will see on screen as well that our 1% lows are really bad. Does this mean my PC is broken? Is something wrong? No. So one thing to bear in mind is this can happen on any game, but as you open the game and it's on the splash screen or loading screen, if you've got Afterburner and RIVATUNER stats already open, it's going to be recording your 1% lows on them loading screens. So if your game freezes as it's compiling shaders or just on the loading screen, then your 1% lows are going to be obliterated. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with your PC, it just means that the overlay started recording as soon as you opened your game. So how you can fix this is if you go to Afterburner again, and we head over to this benchmark section, we can set a keybind for begin recording, and the same with end recording. So now we hit apply and OK, and if I come out of these, so if I press Alt plus S, that's to end recording. So if you've opened your game and your 1% lows are all over the place, then this is how you can fix it. You can press Alt plus S or whatever keybind you chose to stop the recording. And then as soon as you're actually in the game and you're ready to start recording the average FPS and 1% lows, you can press the keybind for start recording, which is Alt plus R for me. So now all of a sudden my 1% lows are fixed. So that's how to accurately make sure that these stats are right. Let's say for whatever reason your PC just froze, your 1% lows, your average FPS are going to be all over the place. You can click to end the recording and then you can use the keybind to start the recording again. Now one other thing to mention as well is sometimes in some games your 1% low figures may be bad. As you've seen there, just by opening the settings, we went to 200 FPS on the 1% lows and then 3 FPS. Is there a problem with my PC? Nope, but this is just how things are. So obviously I've got my FPS capped to 540, but in the settings it says 60 because I had to do it in the game files. But if we put this to unlimited in the actual game, and then what you can do is open RIVATUNER, and you will see here frame rate limit. So let's say you've got a 360Hz monitor, I could put a 360Hz cap. As you can see, our FPS is now capped at 360, both on this overlay and also with the in-game FPS counter. And then what we can do is stop the recording and then start recording again, and all of a sudden our 1% lows are really good. So one thing to note is actually sometimes the FPS cap in game could not be that good. It happens in Fortnite. If you cap your FPS with RIVATUNER, sometimes that can fix these statistics showing really bad 1% lows, especially if you're not experiencing bad stutters or bad 1% lows in general. This happened a lot to me last year. The 1% lows in Fortnite when I was recording with my old PC would jump anywhere between 20 to 80 to 200. It would never stay anywhere near consistent, but the gameplay felt fine, and I think that was more of a bug or an issue with the FPS being capped in game. As soon as I cap my FPS in RIVATUNER, it tends to fix these issues itself. So that's pretty much it for this video. Obviously, I've shown you how to customize and choose exactly what monitoring you want on the overlay. I've shown you how to change the font and the colors. I've shown you how to change the positioning. Now, there is a video that I will put linked in the description where you can absolutely completely customize this overlay, and you can make it look quite sleek and clean like the NVIDIA app overlay. But you can obviously customize it and have exactly what you want being monitored on screen. But that's pretty much it for this video. Now, I will just make a quick mention as well. In some games, and I know this is very common for Counter-Strike 2, in some games you may experience that the overlay doesn't work, and I think it's to do with the game's anti-cheat. Now, there are ways to fix this for certain games, but my best advice is to find a video. For example, Toasty Bros posted a video of how to get the Afterburner overlay to work for CS2. It's a case of going into the Steam settings, entering a command, and also sometimes you need to add it into here as well. But that's not something we're going to cover in this video, because for most games Afterburner will work absolutely fine. But if you do run into them issues, there are videos out there. I will leave a link in the description of the Toasty Bros video for how to get this working on Counter-Strike 2, in case that's something you've come here to actually try and figure out. But anyway, I hope this has helped some of you guys out, and I'll see you all soon.